Hello, welcome to Trev Talks Tech. Well, what kind of tech are we talking about today? Because as you can see, I have here my most sort of native instrument here. This is the, if anyone says, do I play an instrument? This is what I would say about that. And yes, so this is a melodeon. I'm just going to bring it up to the camera. I'm using the Osmo the Osmo Mini 4 here, by the way. I'm doing the entire thing on the Osmo to demonstrate the Osmo, and also because, hey, I bought it, so I better use it, right? And yeah, so I'm doing a thing about the melodeon here, and I can actually just adjust this, so you can see the box. I'm also using the Bluetooth microphone that came with it. And I don't feel the need to be standing or sitting too close to that microphone, because at the end of the day, I can promise you this is quite a loud instrument. So I don't think you're going to have any problem hearing me doing this. So this one is for the music fans, especially maybe the synthesizer fans, because I wanted to show you the other instrument I've got here is another melodeon, but it's the electronic one, the Streb. Now, I have featured this in my videos before, but I don't think I've really said a great deal about it. So this time I thought, well, let's give the Streb and the melodeons a good go, because if I'm honest with you, those of you who've seen my videos about the music will see that I'm surrounded by keyboards there, and I'll be quite honest, keyboards are not my first instrument. I play chords, I play simple tunes, and obviously I use them to get music into the DAW or whatever it is, but I don't really play them like a pianist. There are beautiful pianists out there, some amazing players. So I definitely in no way can I number myself among them, and I know that there are certain other channels who are just as easy to about admitting their lack of keyboard skills. Still, there is one keyboard where I am reasonably fluent, and that is the melodeon here. Now, for those of you who have not come across a melodeon before, you've probably come across an accordion. Now, when you see that a piano accordion is designed to play obviously like a piano, and it doesn't matter whether you move the bellows in or out. The bellows, of course, control the flow of air over the reeds that then control the music, that control the note. And it doesn't matter whether you're pushing or pulling a piano accordion, you get the same note out of here. It would be really weird if you played a C on the piano keyboard and you got a different note out, whether you were pushing or pulling. So it's designed to do the same note in both directions. The same is not true, however, about this style of accordion. This is called a melodeon. Another appropriate name for it might be an English two-row button accordion. And of course there are button accordions that work in more chromatic ways as well. So this has two principal major keys. It has G, the key of G major on the inside. It has the key of D on the outside. But from there you can also get E minor. There's bits of A minor. You could get C and F. Doesn't work so well. On the continent, C and F would be the natural tuning of this instrument, probably more often than not. And obviously that's where the other electronic one comes in, because it can change its tuning. This one is a regular sort of mechanical reed melodeon. So on the left hand, sorry, that's my left hand. On my left hand, I've got the bass and the preset chords. And the beauty of the chords is that as you play the melody on the right hand, and notice I was pushing and pulling. When you play the bass and chords, they are to some extent designed to fit in with the direction you're playing. So you play G major and you play these two buttons, you get G major chord. You pull, you get D. Is it D? One of those. A. Well, one of those. Yeah, chord of D. But obviously that's not D. Anyway, so you can see we can play a melody. There you go. That's just on a few keys. The beauty of this instrument is because you can play two notes to one key, the keyboard doesn't have to be as long as it would be for a piano accordion. You've got a couple of octaves in here in the space of what would probably be only probably one, maybe just over one octave in a piano accordion. So it plays like a harmonica. The way you suck and blow in a harmonica, you do that. You're doing that with the bellows in here, but you've obviously got a bit more power than you would have with a regular harmonica, unless you have extremely good lungs. So that is the basic melodeon. Now, obviously one of the problems with a basic melodeon like this, I say basic, it's just 2 rows and 8 buttons on the left hand, is the lack of different keys. And obviously there are only so many voices that you can get from this. Now, for the purists, they will pick on an appropriate melodeon for the thing. The reason I have this particular one is because I do music for Morris dancing, and Morris dancing needs something which is durable. This is quite a durable style of box. It's not beautifully handcrafted wooden box, which one of my other boxes I haven't got with me right now would be. Totally inappropriate, that one, for street work. This one is much better in the street. It's a bit durable. It can take a few knocks and dings, although I tried desperately to avoid that occurring. And it's not too bad at all. It's a little, if it gets a little bit of rain on it, it's not going to be the end of the world, although it doesn't like damp very much. All these little wooden bars here do not like getting damp, and it can cause them to stick in the actual keyboard. So obviously the other thing is, because it's an acoustic instrument, I can't so easily connect it to all the keyboards. So there are alternatives, however. Let's have a look at the electronic melodeon, and that's why this is really a tech video, because I want to introduce you to the Streb electronic melodeon. And here it is. So the Streb melodeon is so called because it's made by a man called Steve Rouse. Streb is, I gather, his nickname, and he hand builds every one of these. Every single one has been hand built and hand finished, and he also designed and did all the programming for this. It's a very clever piece of kit. I'm going to bring it up closely to the camera because I want to show you what we've got here. So we've actually got a headphone output. We've also got left and right unbalanced line level stuff. We've got the USB connection, which is to reprogram the configuration of the unit, and we've got a 5-pin DIN MIDI. So all of that is going on in here. And on the front panel, we've got the keys. The keys are actually based on laptop keys, as I understand it. But we've also got we've got a couple of switches. One of these is the volume here. We've got a reverb switch as well, so we can add some reverb sound to this. And we've got a couple of switches here which change the key of the unit up and down, and actually change the voice of the unit as well. So being electronic, obviously I have the facility here to put different voices into it. That can sound kind of weird, and some of them don't really work. And you know, a lot of melodeon players, there are plenty of box players out there who don't really regard this as a, you know, as a melodeon, really, as a viable melodeon. Personally, I think they're fantastic, and there's a lot of people I know who nonetheless do have them and do play them. There's some well-known players out there who own one of these, and yeah, it's just useful for all the things that a acoustic melodeon can't do. So the other thing I didn't show you in there, I just have to turn the box around for you to see it and turn it on, is this little display here. Hope you can see that okay. There you go, just trying to get the reflections out of the way. So there is a little sort of OLED type display on the side here. It shows the voice I'm using. So it shows the the voice number. It shows the actual preset number. It shows the key I'm using, and it also allows. There's also an allowance here for changing different key systems as well. So some of the keys on here, especially down along here, where we've got the short row, and then at the back end here, where we've got some of these keys can be reconfigured, mostly for accidental notes. Some of these keys here are sometimes accidental notes as well, and rather being part of the main key, a run of notes going up and down the keyboard, these in particular tend to be reconfigured for accidental notes. But because you've got the half row here as well, it's also possible to have these as part of the lower notes in the same scale, and for these to be, all of these to be the accidental notes. So that's that. On the back, I've got more chord keys on the back here. I've got more options for chords. I'd still tend only to use 8 of the buttons, to be honest with you. And we've also got a switch here which removes the third note out of the chord on the rear. So, and that is a function, by the way, which conventional melodeons can also have. This one, now I do have a button here, but I can't remember what it does. Yep, so that's taking the third out of the chord. So if I play this without the third, and then play it with the third plugged in. And you do that sometimes when you actually want a major, but you haven't got one, or a minor and you haven't got one. Taking the third out of the chord basically means you can play that universally, whether it's major or minor. Anyway, so there's also a little wheel here for adjusting the tightness of the strap. Very important to have a good grip on here. And finally, I should point out, this is relevant, that the acoustic melodeon, I don't know if you can see that very well in this light, has an air button. So this lever here controls the flow of air into the bellows. Now that's important because in a melodeon, unlike an accordion, you need to regulate the amount of air in the bellows, and you need to regulate the position of the bellows, because some tunes involve playing all very much in one direction all the time, and you don't get much opportunity to actually extend the bellows. If you keep playing the bellows in the same direction all the time, you're eventually going to run out of air. And the same is true in the opposite direction. So not only do you have to start off with the bellows in a mid position, or somewhere that's kind of going to give you the best chance to get through your tune, but you also then have to use the air button on the thumb here to regulate the amount of air. So you might not want to lose too much air sometimes. Well, you can't really help how much you lose, but you don't necessarily, on the air button, sometimes you hold it in, so you actually lose or gain more air than you need, because you know that you're going to need it for the next part of the tune. So that's the most tricky part, in my opinion, of learning the melodeon, is regulating the air button properly, because it's an extra thing you have to do which is not part of the tune. You can understand sucking and blowing like you would a harmonica to get notes, and you can understand bass and chords, but this doesn't really fit in with any timing or anything like that. It's just in the middle of it all. So you just have to get used to it. And so a tune like this, for example. That little, I actually have to put that in on purpose to give the bellows enough extension for me to be able to play the next. So a bit of sheepskins there. I'm sorry, I probably actually I can see I'm redlining the microphone as well. Like I said, this is a very loud instrument, which is what you want when you're outdoors and you're trying to make sure the dancers can hear you. It needs to cut through everything. Sometimes it sounds a bit harsh if you're in a more enclosed environment like this. Anyway, so there's a lot to do. Now, the reason I went back to the acoustic box and show you that is because when you come to the Streb, now the thing about the Streb is because it's electronic, it doesn't need any air. And the bellows aren't actually doing anything in the conventional sense that the bellows on the acoustic instrument are doing. On the, let me put that here. But on the acoustic instrument, you're sucking and blowing the bellows to pass air over the reeds to make the notes. But when you do that on an electronic melodeon, all you're doing is pushing buttons, and the purpose of the bellows is to detect the direction that you are pulling. So it's a good imitation of what an acoustic melodeon does. And it's got a very sort of, it's not just a black and white sensor either. You can play quietly. Or you can play loudly. So there is pressure sensitivity and direction sensitivity built into this. But of course what it doesn't have is air blowing over any reeds. So the bellows wouldn't actually lose or gain any air by playing. And so it's weird not having to employ that technique. Having said that, to make it feel more real, there is in fact an air button. Just here, on here, there is an air button, and there is a valve in the back of this which is emitting or emitting in or out a certain amount of air. So the general playability of it compared to an acoustic melodeon is roughly the same. It is different in a sense because the more notes you play on an acoustic melodeon, the more air you are passing through it, and therefore the more quickly you run out. Or you gain it, you run out of bellows one way or the other. Whereas in this box, that can happen, sure, but the amount of air that you are using is constant. I can play one note or 4 notes and it doesn't make any difference. And I can play so I can play as many notes as I like on this side as well, and it won't make a bit of difference at all to the amount of air I'm consuming. So in that way it feels a little bit different. The other thing about the electronic melodeon, the Streb here, is the sensitivity of the keys. Obviously the keys are switched, whereas on the acoustic box they are valves, and they are regulating the amount of air that you get to each button, each note. I'm not doing that here. The button is either pressed or it's not pressed. There's no pressure sensitivity adjusting the level there. And for those people wondering from the synthesizer land, there's no aftertouch either, so that doesn't happen. But nevertheless, so there are pros and cons. The other thing about this, of course, is, and the reason I have this, one of the reasons I have this, is because it has MIDI. Now, I've already said, I'm not a good keyboard player by any means, but when I want to play something, and this is basically my best bet, chance of getting anything that I've played into a computer, I can plug directly into this MIDI socket here, and obviously then control that. Now the way the MIDI is split up on this is interesting, because there are two sets here of two sets of outer rows. Well, there's the outer row, the inner row, and then there's the half row. That there are separate assignments you can make for to some extent on these rows. You can assign the chords and the bass. There's some basses. Those are basses. That's a chord. So basses, chords. You can assign those to separate MIDI channels as well. So in principle, you could hook this up to a whole bunch of different instruments. You could hook the bass up to a bearing a D. You could hook the chords up to some other lovely little instrument of some description, maybe one of the mod wave or something. You could hook the melody up to something else again, maybe in my setup the Mini Freak of all weird things, or even plug it into the modular system. And obviously you only get one, you're really only going to get one note at a time out of that, but it's in principle something you could do. I've often wondered actually about getting a second MIDI what would happen, thinks, if I got a second MIDI interface and went through from the first one to that one. Then I could use that for a second channel, couldn't I? Then we could get more than one, and we could get more than one note out of the thing. If you had separate assignments, you could actually play two separate independent channels into it, couldn't you? There's a thought, but not one I'm going to pursue for the time being. Okay, so this is the standard Melodeon voice, which when you compare it to you can have a listen. I don't think that's bad. It is quite well sampled. These are sampled, some of these from real Melodeons, from real acoustic Melodeons. But it's also possible to put other stuff on here. And you can also use the general MIDI as well. So there's lots of possibilities. So for example, here is, if I just go through some of these to that's still a box there. There you go. So that's the church organ on this. sorts of mistakes here. I've not played this much recently. Sorry about that. Standard box player's excuse. So there's so you do have that ability to change that, instruments. There you go, that kind of thing. So when you're trying to play along with someone who is in a different key, you can at least change the key up. So D and G is the usual for this, but I can go to CF. Like so. There you go. So it's an instrument I intend to feature more in the music, and I will bring it into some of the videos as well. Just a quick, so that is just a quick introduction to it. I can see my recorder is coming up to quite a long time so far. I've been nearly half an hour at this. If you have been watching all this time, thank you so much. There will be more videos forthcoming. I seem to be in the middle of a lot of other projects and issues and work and various things as well. So do my best over here. If you are watching the videos and enjoying them, thank you so much. If you've subscribed to me, thank you so much once again. I don't have any subscribers, but that's fine. I don't do it for the glory or anything. Far from it. I'm just very happy to be out there, and for you to, if any of you are interested, to watch what I'm doing. So thanks again, have a good one, and I will see you again in another video. Bye bye now.